Welcome to our first episode of Plato Tech Talk, where we talk about all things technology and how it impacts your life and the way you do business. My name is Keith Roy. I am the COO of Plato Alpha Design, and we have today as well.
Hi, my name is Duran. I'm the CEO of Plato Alpha Design. And our companies are kind of twofold. We have Plato Alpha Design for our digital transformation services. We are the leaders in the Bahamas for that. We also have TriBlock HR, which is our HR and payroll software built specifically for Caribbean businesses.
So before we get started, Duran, can we first tell the audience how exactly did Plato Alpha get started from the very beginning before it was even called Plato Alpha?
So yeah, we started the company in March of 2020. That's when we started Plato Alpha Design, originally called Base Road Software.
Road. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good old OG name.
It was.
Only a very few small amount of people actually know that.
Yeah, that logo only lasted maybe about 3-4 months, so it was very OG.
Probably not even that. But I still remember our first customer, 6 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
They would be pretty much the only ones that would know us as Base Road Software,
Yeah.
if they even remember that at this point.
Yeah, William Wilson is a very great guy, by the way.
Fantastic. I spoke to him a couple of days ago, actually.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely, that's how Plato Alpha Design started. And we started this because we saw a need in the market during COVID where everyone was sent to work from home. Everyone needed e-commerce or things like that. They needed to get the technology up and running. So we decided, hey, we're good at what we do. Why not go ahead and start out something, hang out our own shingle and say, hey, we're here, we're open for business, right? And it's been almost 5 years at that point. And I do remember distinctly when we started TriBlock, because again, we saw a need in the market. We said, hey, everyone seems to be using Excel to do their payroll. It doesn't make any sense. It's what, 2022, 2023?
And not only that as well, another thing was that during that time, like you said, we were only doing e-commerce websites or website designs.
Right.
I wasn't making no money, man. You know what I'm saying? We was trying to figure out
It's a race to the bottom.
You know, we were trying to figure out what can really make some passive income, and that's when we got into looking at software as a service, and like you said, TriBlock came into fruition.
Yeah. But I also want to say that, and I'm sure you remember as well, our first idea was to actually build a digital bank.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But that got shut down real quick.
Yep.
Really quick. Too much red tape, too much money required. Okay? So we decided, hey, payroll is a whole lot easier, lower barrier to entry. Let's get into that and then dive into everything else related to HR to build that solid moat to where no one else could really pretty much knock us out, eh?
Yeah.
And it's been almost 5 years now.
Almost 5 years. 2021. Yeah. Almost 5 years. Yep.
Yeah. The team has grown quite significantly since.
Yep. And at least from my vantage point, you can definitely see the impact that we're having locally and very soon internationally. Having a robust software to be able to do some of the things we're doing now, and even including AI, but don't want to talk too soon, too fast. We would have told the audience earlier how we got started, but I'm pretty sure they don't have an understanding of what we actually do. I'm pretty sure when you hear Plato Alpha, it's a very striking name. It doesn't really correlate with anything you can think of.
And it's not a finance or a fintech company as well.
Exactly. But for the audience, Plato Alpha Design, we're a custom software development company.
Right.
So we pretty much can bring any idea to life through software. We try to assist companies with making their life easier with software, automating a lot of the mundane tasks.
Right.
That way they can do their job faster, more efficient. They can save time, they can save money. And of course, reduce any unnecessary headaches that you may have with doing things very manual.
It's a lot of headaches with things being manual.
Yes, it is.
I mean, we've seen a lot of very archaic, is a nice word to put it, processes, especially in a lot of different companies here locally, a lot of government entities. There's a lot of work to be done. Now with TriBlock, right? As you know, that's something that we use to help digitize the HR and payroll departments within any organization.
Correct.
To get you away from using Excel, get you away from using pen and paper, literally to write out, let's say, tracking time and attendance. Some companies are still doing the manual log sheets, log books.
Yeah.
Where when you come in, you sign it, you say what time you came in, say what time you left, right? It works. Sometimes, if you have honest employees. But if you're an employer, you know that employees are not always honest,
That's true.
especially in certain industries, right? In our industry, we're lucky, right? We have very high integrity persons
Correct.
in our industry. So I'm very appreciative to be in this particular industry for sure, from what I've seen in the past.
Most definitely. And not only does it handle HR stuff, but it also handles processing payroll. And as you know, that is something that you cannot get wrong, especially in the Bahamas. If you mess up on somebody's payroll, they're calling your phone, they're calling HR, they're showing up to your house, they're doing whatever's possible.
I'm sure you heard stories. I know I heard stories about payroll reps getting persons legitimately showing up to their house and trying to figure out how this person find my address.
Exactly.
You work at the same company.
Exactly.
How you find out where I live? It's a scary thing sometimes.
Most definitely.
You know? So outside of that, I think that us looking at not only the Bahamas, but also the region and also the world in general, some of the things that are happening all around the planet. We've seen recent advancements in AI in terms of China with their DeepSeek
That's some crazy
release,
stuff.
which apparently they didn't even mean to actually release that. That wasn't even the purpose of it.
It wasn't.
But for whatever reason, it just turned out to be miles better than OpenAI and ChatGPT, supposedly, right? I haven't personally looked at it and done a super comparison of it, but supposedly it's miles better.
Well, I got DeepSeek on my phone. I've tried it a few times, and it's pretty decent, I would say.
It sounds like your phone might be bugged, bro.
Maybe,
Good there?
maybe. Hopefully not. But I've used DeepSeek for about 2 weeks right now, and
good.
it's been pretty decent.
All right.
And obviously, as you know, in an open market like AI, you got OpenAI, you have Meta, you have Microsoft with Gemini. Everybody is in this AI space. And one of the things that people didn't realize is that when DeepSeek came into the market, and they were able to show benchmarks of how they can perform versus some of their rivals, you would have noticed that in the stock market, NVIDIA's stock price would have plummeted, I think, about $600 billion.
The entire stock market dropped by over $1 trillion that day.
Exactly. And
That's ridiculous.
like you know, in business, if you could do something cheaper, faster, and more efficient, persons are going to be a bit more speculative on spending all this premium money on AI when I could just go to China and I could get the same thing, open source, by the way, for a lot less cheaper.
China's a different beast. When it
Definitely,
comes to technology, they're a totally different beast. Even with Tesla and their BYDs, apparently BYD and all the other Chinese EV companies pretty much took what Tesla did, started that as a baseline, and then built upon that tremendously. Even so to the point where they now have a car that can legitimately jump over potholes.
Jump over potholes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they also got a car with a helicopter propeller that comes out of the trunk that you can fly off with. This is legitimate, real things. This is not science fiction.
So it sounds as if we're going to have some flying cars on it,
Or you definitely need them cars who can jump over the potholes.
especially in
Yes, you
Nassau.
can need them. But that's a totally different beast. China takes whatever you create. If they like it, they take it and they make it for a whole lot less, and they add onto it, improving it. So that's something that I think in the future we need to do as a country as well. Is that similar to what Microsoft did in the early 80s, 90s with India? They sent their best top developers over to India to train the Indians. And now you see India is a total powerhouse over there.
Yes, they are.
Right.
Yes, they are.
So that's something we probably need to do with the Bahamas so we can start exporting some software skills, some technology skills.
Another thing that I also think that we should do in the Bahamas is be a bit more tighter or firmer in our cybersecurity.
Yeah.
As you know, we've seen a lot of attacks lately, whether it's DDoS attacks or persons just straight up hacking into the infrastructure and bringing the entire operation to its knees. A lot of times you don't see that in the news. You have to kind of be in the know to know these different things. But I know you recently would have heard about something that would have happened, I think a few days ago. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, so this goes back to a bit of my ethos, right? If you want something to get done right, you go to a professional to do it,
That's correct.
right? I'm not going to play professional and set up a podcast studio and say, hey, I got a couple of mics. Let me try to cut some video, right? That's not my area of focus. I'm probably going to do it not as well as I do software.
Correct.
Right? Hyper focused on that. So when you're talking about someone going in and rolling their own payment processing, something that's as critical as that. As you know, there's a ton of fraud happening every single day, even here in the Bahamas. Whereas before COVID, we didn't really have a whole lot of it, right? But after, we started to get more of it because persons getting online banking, they're using the cards every day. So there's a lot more opportunities, right, for persons to misplace, right, in quotes, the card data. So recently we had a situation where someone was getting fraudulent transactions on the payment gateway.
Correct. Yep. I remember
Which,
that.
as soon as you start to get those fraudulent transactions, your gateway, their first move is to shut down your payments. So you can no longer accept payments, right? That's their first move. Now, the second move for you would now be to try and remedy it, which, depending on how bad it was, how bad your own homegrown rolled solution was, that can be ridiculously more expensive than it would have been initially, right? So that's why we like to always point persons, say, if you're going to do something like that, do it once and do it right versus doing it badly the first time and then having to come back and pay even more the second time.
Absolutely, man. I totally agree. I think us as a country, we don't really take security as serious because until it's someone because
Until you're affected, I could care less about security, man. I just browse the internet, checking my email.
and to be honest, it could be quite expensive. You know, we've gotten some quotes for some security audits, and yeah, those are some serious quotes. So I could definitely understand why a lot of companies may put that on the back burner.
Right.
But if you're a company, if a lot of your operations is digital, if a lot of your systems depend on being on the actual internet, then you want to make sure that you secure your systems as much as possible. Because once they go down, a lot of times you're losing revenue, and that's the last thing you want to do.
Hey, and even then, right? Just like how we always consult in different companies, even then, we point persons to say, yes, you could go with the standard security model and pay someone to actually do it for you. But in the world of technology, a whole bunch of money flowing around everywhere, there's a ton of different startups that are tackling different issues.
Yeah.
So just with a simple Google search or just with a simple conversation with somebody that already knows, you could figure out, okay, I want to get this security certification. This one company quoted me $80,000, right? And it's going to take a year to do it, right? I talked to XYZ person who already knows, and they point me to another company that's charging $15,000. But the reason that they can do that is that their entire model is different. They automate 99% of the work, right? So they don't have to charge you that much, and they're still ridiculously profitable.
You're absolutely correct.
So all that pretty much drives back to is, say, talk to someone that knows, right? Before you pull the trigger on something that large, especially a bill that big, you have to talk to someone that knows already so they can guide you better.
Now, one of the things that I also wanted to bring up is we're in the technology space. We're also in the HR space. When we built out TriBlock, one of the first things we would always hear is, "Oh, you guys are trying to replace my job," especially once we started integrating AI in it. And for the audience, can you elaborate on how what we're doing isn't necessarily replacing, but more or less empowering you to do more of the people work and less of the paperwork as it relates to HR?
100%. 100%. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that, yes, depending on whether or not you decide to adapt, AI will replace your job. Automation will replace you.
That's correct.
There is no sugarcoating that. All right. So it's really up to you as the individual to upskill yourself and figure out how you can use that for your benefit, to become more efficient, to become more valuable to the company, and say, hey, I'm using AI to make my job easier, make my workload less, so I can do more, maybe for the company or maybe on the side, depending on whatever you'd want to do overall. But TriBlock in and of itself is not meant to replace the HR persons or the payroll persons. It's meant to assist them in their daily tasks in terms of what they're doing, right? instead of you having to write on paper or fill out an Excel sheet, basically everything can be automated for you.
Okay.
And it also empowers your staff to do certain things as well so that you get less calls. You don't got to have someone call you to say, hey, how much vacation I got left, how much sick I got left, or how much can you give me a job letter or anything like that. Just have them log on and get it themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What if your business had one device that streamlined the management of your workforce? What if that device had fingerprint biometrics and Face ID to ensure secure and reliable identification? What if your employees can use HID card tapping for quick and easy clock-ins? How about PIN entry to easily manage your diverse workforce? TriBlock HR's new clock-in device does it all, making your human resources needs simple and effective. So there's no more need for the what-ifs of HR.
Well, we're back on the Plato Alpha Tech podcast. And today I have a guest with me, Kendrick Knowles, who's Assistant VP of IT at Commonwealth Bank Limited. Kendrick, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. It's good to be here. I'm excited about what you guys are doing with the podcast, and I'm excited about talking about technology.
Good to have you on, man. Good to have you on. You know, I've known you for, I believe, going on like 3 to 4 years now, something like that.
Yeah, close to 5.
Yeah. And, you know, I sought you out as a person that I saw in IT that I could learn from, right? Because you've been doing IT for a whole lot longer than me, right? And I saw your career progression as you went from the same company that I started out at, you know, to the next, and where you're at now. You know, you had a good amount of jumps in between, man. So how was that experience for you?
It was interesting, it kind of speaks to what happens in technology. We often think about the system resources part of technology, but human resources is something that is also an interesting part of the technology landscape in the Bahamas.
The people.
As you know, there's a significant skills gap, so we're constantly looking for talent and new people. So that kind of explains a lot of the moving around. But also, one of the things that I learned in my career in IT is that you have to continue to expand.
Yes.
And you have to continue to learn new things.
Absolutely.
And sometimes to learn new things, you have to go to new places.
Yeah. Find new environments to say, hey, let me try to expand my skills a bit more.
Exactly.
Challenge myself, because after a certain while, doing the same thing every day gets a bit monotonous.
Exactly. And then I think for me specifically, IT is one of those areas where you can leverage IT across the horizontal. So unlike vertical industries where if you're in insurance, you work in insurance. If you're in healthcare, you work in healthcare. But we work across all industries.
Everything.
So my experience in IT has been working for the enterprise with insurance, financial services, legal, and then also working for a carrier. So I had to see how IT works from the internet perspective and from a client perspective.
Okay. Cool. Well, how did you get into IT in general?
Well, that's a bit of a story. I was doing some maths before the podcast, trying to remember the years in anticipation of this question. That's about 20 years.
20 years.
Yes, right. I feel really old. So I started off doing IT certifications, as most IT professionals would do.
Right.
And then one day at the end of the course, the instructor asked if I would teach the next course. And I was 16 at the time, and I was like, okay. And I started my career teaching IT certifications. So A+, Network Plus, Cybersecurity, CCNA, Microsoft certifications. And then I worked for companies after that.
Right.
Yep.
So in your space, in the banking sector, how do you see some of the things that are happening globally affecting you guys specifically, and how are you kind of keeping up with it? Because there's a lot happening every single day. I'm sure you at least try to keep up with it, but it's quite a bit,
Yeah, it is a lot. I think that all banks now are concerned and focusing on ways in which they can optimize the delivery of services for clients.
Right.
And we all know the biggest buzzword now is artificial intelligence. So of course, that's something that you have to keep abreast of. Yep. So I think that sharpening up on what's going on in AI is very important for any IT professional. And keeping up with the trends in artificial intelligence, that's probably key. And then obviously there's cybersecurity. If you're dealing with people's money, then you need to know how to keep it safe, keep it secure. So cybersecurity is also an active player in everyone's mind in IT, for sure.
So we spoke about earlier in the previous segment that there's a lot of fraud happening, right? Especially in the Bahamas with bankings and things like that. When you go and you patronize a particular business, whatever that business may be, and for whatever reason you start seeing fraudulent charges coming from your card, you're trying to figure out, could it actually be that business or could it be something else? Like, what do you advise persons to actually do in that sort of situation?
Well, as much as possible, you want to be safe with your financial instruments, your credit cards, even with your currency in your pocket, actually. So I think that it all goes down to safe practices with merchants.
Right.
And to answer your question, it could be the vulnerability could be on either side. It could be on the merchant side. It could be on an unknown third party side. It could even be negligent on the customer side.
Definitely.
So the compromise could happen at any level of the chain. And I think at the end of the day, we just have to continue to be vigilant and work with our financial institutions as well.
Right.
If you suspect or you even hint that there may be some suspicious activity, I think you should do the responsible thing and contact your financial institution for sure.
Immediately. That's why they have to print it out in big and bold on the back of your card.
Exactly.
Contact us immediately.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah, man. I mean, in terms of, let's say, general things that are happening outside of the country, is there anything that you think would be good for us to have here inside of the country?
Yeah, definitely. So I also serve as a member of the IRN Advisory Council. So IRN is one of the regional internet registries. It stands for the American Registry of Internet Numbers. And I think that more internet governance in the country can be established through the establishment of what's called autonomous system numbers.
Okay.
I think a lot of organizations don't realize the power of owning their own autonomous system number and obviously registering their own internet number resources.
Right.
So things like that, I believe, can greatly help us with cybersecurity. Because right now, for example, we don't have what's known as an internet exchange point. So if you're a Kill Bahamas customer, all your traffic goes to Kill Bahamas, travels through the internet cloud and comes back down, as opposed to going through the next carrier. So what an internet exchange point would allow you to do is to connect Kill Bahamas' services to BTC services. So if you're a Kill Bahamas customer, you can just take one hop away to go to a BTC customer, as opposed to having to go through the internet's cloud and come back to the country.
I see what you're saying.
So there's a tremendous reliance on subsea fiber and internet working out of the country. So it produces latency and also makes services like this, like podcasting and content delivery services, even harder to do.
And more expensive.
More expensive as well.
Yeah.
Right? So the content we deliver to our homes and our cell phones could be much faster if we establish something like internet exchange pairing. So that's to answer your question, that's the number one thing we don't have that I think that we need for sure.
Yeah, because I spoke to one of my friends in Canada not too long ago, and I seen that for $20 a month, he gets like 2 gigabits down, right? That's like fiber speeds, whereas here, I'm not 100% sure of the price. It's maybe like triple, quadruple. No. Definitely not $20 a month. You know, and something like that would help in that situation.
Definitely. I mean, the market needs to definitely diversify. We only have 2 main players, so that's something that we have to take into consideration.
That's somewhat of a tertiary one now.
Yeah. Somewhat it's coming, but I mean, I feel as though with more competition, that's going to influence prices as well. But when you have a market that's as close as we are, it's very difficult to incentivize better pricing, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with today?
I think that most persons right now would probably be concerned about the uncertainty regarding artificial intelligence.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say that the most important thing you can do is to not focus on one area of IT to focus on or to study, but to remain adaptive because we really don't know what's happening and the trends are coming. Like my sons are 6 and there's no way I could prepare them for what's going to come when they come to school. AI is advancing every 3 months or so. In fact, the last 8 months, every speaking engagement I've been invited to attend has been talking about AI. People want to hear about AI and my thoughts on AI and legal and financial services. So I would say stay adaptive and stay current. It's the best thing I could say.
For sure. All right, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, as always, man.
What if your business had one device that streamlined the management of your workforce? What if that device had fingerprint biometrics and Face ID to ensure secure and reliable identification? What if your employees can use HID card tapping for quick and easy clock-ins? How about PIN entry to easily manage your diverse workforce? TriBlock HR's new clock-in device does it all. making your human resources needs simple and effective. So there's no more need for the what ifs of HR.
Before we get into it, we want to get into a quick game of this or that, right?
Okay.
This is how we'll probably end up closing off all of our different podcast episodes, right? When we're up to season 10, episode 50, whatever it is, right? Mac or PC?
That's a very easy question. It's Macintosh all day, every day. I've been using Mac products since I could afford it. My parents didn't want to spend the money to purchase a Mac because obviously, you know, at that age, you're not able to take care of things in the way that you need to take care of it. I bought my first MacBook when I came out of college back in 2018. And then from there, once I started working with you at a local company, they bought us the first, let's say, MacBook Pro.
Free things, man.
Free things. And it was very nice. About 2.5 years later, they bought us another MacBook.
More free things.
My third MacBook. And then now we would have bought some new MacBook Pros, some M2s. Very nice. And yeah, I use everything Mac. I wouldn't change it for the world unless Apple does something crazy. But for the foreseeable future, which is as long as I'm living, I don't foresee myself not using a Macintosh product. What about you, Mac?
Mac.
Yeah?
100% done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there any point in time where you would have said PC over Mac, though?
No.
Oh?
No.
Not even for gaming?
Nah.
Okay.
Once you start using a Mac, you don't want to go back to Windows.
I totally agree. Now let me ask you, Duran, ChatGPT or DeepSeek?
Sure. Right now, I would stick with ChatGPT, primarily because, yes, China is advanced, but I don't trust it at all. I mean, I barely trust ChatGPT, but that's more than I would DeepSeek, and I haven't even tried DeepSeek yet to know exactly how it works, if it's actually better, as all the persons are saying. But once I do, then we'll be able to come to a conclusion on that. But for now, ChatGPT, 100%.
Okay. And as for myself, it's probably the same. Most of the time I've used ChatGPT, haven't had any issues. I know persons were saying recently that ChatGPT has been hallucinating, but I haven't had any issues using it. Mind you, I'm not asking it any crazy prompts, you know. I'm not asking it to solve some crazy problem. So it's been pretty simple and pretty good for me.
Good, man. Good. So, Keith, I think it's been a solid episode, man. And I think we've given the audience a good insight into us as a company,
I agree.
the different companies that we got, and also into our guests for today's segment, our first episode, Kendrick Knowles from Commonwealth. So, really appreciate everyone who worked on this particular episode, and also you, the audience. I want you to leave a comment telling us your feelings about AI, and also like the post, share with your friends that may be in the IT space. This is a lot of big things that we have planned for 2025 and beyond. Thank you.